Elon Musk is systematically attempting to undermine and destabilise democratically elected Western governments that he doesn't like, and in doing so seeking to empower extremist far-right groups and cause chaos and essentially try to project them into power. We've seen that in America with Trump, we've seen that in the UK with his support for Tommy Robinson, we've seen it in Germany with his support for Alternative for Deutschland. And he's sort of primarily doing so through his exploitation of his ownership of the X platform under this false pretense of this idea that he's just using and protecting free speech, where he's not only sort of allowing misinformation and disinformation to go unchecked, he's not only allowing the system to be optimized in favor of far-right extremist content, he himself is actively promoting far-right extremist content and directly attacking European governments. And let's be clear, these are not just opinions of a private individual. These have very real-world consequences. We saw it in the UK last summer, where he allowed and actually himself promoted disinformation about a horrific murder to actually, try to get people in the UK to misunderstand the reality of what was really happening. And that led to far-right violence really across the UK at the time. So, this is not just someone expressing opinions. They're doing so in the knowledge that actually it has real consequences. And I would say very much so, I agree with the leaders of European nations who've spoken out over the last day or so that Elon Musk is consciously intruding upon European democracies and trying to threaten their stability. And of course, it should be considered as completely unacceptable because ultimately democracies should not be the playthings of sort of tech billionaires and oligarchs, whether they're foreign or domestic, to be honest. So I think, the time for just words is really passing, and actually European nations that are coming under attack from Elon Musk really should start to take some action against him, because ultimately the consequences will be very severe for European democracies.
What actions do you perceive or do you say these European countries should take against Elon Musk? Because you're talking about consequences, and we're talking about Elon Musk here. In a few weeks from now, he'll be in the administrative position or administrative department in the United States. Quite a powerful department, I should say. So what should happen to Elon Musk? How should he be gagged? That's the word I'm looking for.
Well, I think that is the crucial detail. He's not just the richest man in the world. He is actually an incoming member of the Trump administration, which causes major complications because what we're sort of seeing with the Trump administration, just for context, is this sort of merging of private oligarch interests with actually government interests. And of course, that really makes it very difficult for European nations to actually take action against Musk. And I would say so far they've been very hesitant to even speak out against him. Really, partly because they don't want to give him further oxygen, but also partly because they're actually afraid of the consequences that Trump might take in response, particularly in relation to tariffs, which we know Trump has already threatened. But really, European nations have to protect democracy. Really, it's absolutely essential that we have integrity in our elections and our discourse. But really, European democracies and other democracies, have everything they need in terms of the legislation and regulations to actually take action against Elon Musk, and particularly with X. The EU has the Digital Services Act, where they can take action against Musk for disinformation. We have the Online Safety Act in the UK, which the UK could enforce against Musk. So really, it just requires the political will. And I would say that actually European nations should look to the example of Brazil, who took action last summer, the Brazilian Supreme Court, who actually closed down X temporarily for disinformation and for failing to provide fines, and actually very powerfully made sure that no one could access it. And in the end, what happened? Elon Musk actually gave in, he paid for all the fines, and he actually complied with what the Brazilian Supreme Court was telling him to do so. And so ultimately, people like Elon Musk, they only respect power, they only respect actions. Words will not do anything. And this is a man that needs to be curtailed, and it's absolutely essential, because the kind of forces that Elon Musk is empowering across the world is so dangerous for the stability and the well-being of democracies that really, European governments have responsibility to act against this kind of deliberate malign influence.